Because, like, I'm looking through this list as I'm going down, and it's like, I've played a lot of these games. How is Psychonauts at 185?
Oh, because you were like one of the 5 people that played it.
That's true.
Because there's several times where I've been fighting a boss, and like, you learn its pattern at the beginning, for instance. I had one that just jumps at you right away. It was that guy with the thing on his chest, I think. He just jumps at you right away, and it's like, you need to dodge out of the way, like, within 5 seconds of the fight opening.
Those were pretty much my options, but I wanted to see what the world was like, and I do not have any regrets. Let me just make that very clear, because I am happy that I got to see what the actual world was like. So, Alex, how does 2024 feel to you? You getting the 24 vibes?
Well, we finally got snow this winter.
Yeah.
Ended up being about 7 inches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Way too much, and then it rained the next day, so it all turned into slush.
Yeah, then I had about 5 inches of just water that you had to push around in solid form.
So, yeah.
So that's good.
Did I mention that at the end of last year at this point, in somewhere in December, our basement flooded?
No, you had not.
Yeah. Our sump pump burnt out, so our basement had about 3 to 4 inches of water in it.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, that was a fun time. Apparently, socks are not supposed to go into the intake of a sump pump.
No, that's not where the socks go.
No, it is not. And when we pulled that one out, and I went, "What is this?" And I went, "Oh, it's a pair of socks. How'd they get in there?" Don't flood your basement, guys.
Don't flood your basement, guys. That's the hot tip from Total Pebble Knockdown this week. Oh, by the way, thank you for joining us on the show. I am Nathan.
And I am, thankfully, not underwater, and Alex.
That's right. We are the sock puppet pump people.
No.
Anyway, no,
that.
we're not sock puppets. I wish we were. That would be so much fun. Yeah, I know. I'm not Rocco Sacco again. Sorry. That's from our lore. The Rocco Sacco lore. Anyway, thank you for joining us once again on the show. Let's just get into some shenanigans. I have been informed by Clayton Calix that we have reached 500 videos.
Which is a lot of videos. 2 years of us doing this, about 3 segments per week.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the podcast episodes and occasional specials.
Yeah, and the specials.
And we're over 100 episodes now, so.
Yeah. And that'll do it. That'll get you there. He had mentioned that it would be really great to do something special for the 500th episode. And then we got lazy and didn't think about it ahead of time. And I
don't think it's a lazy.
We didn't
I don't
get
think
lazy.
we really. I think it was the holidays, and we took 2 weeks off.
Yes, and then we and then we didn't realize it before we had already recorded stuff. So anyway, I figured we'd celebrate our 500th episode at 506 or so, or 7, something like that. I thought it would be fun to look at the 500 best video games of all time, Alex.
Who did you say this article was by?
Okay, so
there's a list, I guess.
Yeah, so let me. This is from somebody who made a list on IGN. It is called...
IGN is a reputable news source.
Especially people that make playlists on IGN. That's gotta be good. Remix from the playlist team. But, however, this is the reason why, it's kind of interesting. It is not just best video games. It's the mathematically derived 500 best video games of all time, which is updated as of December 5th, 2023. And as it states, rankings are calculated by applying tiered scoring system to 85 historical best of all time lists published over the last 30 years.
So we're just aggregating other people's lists to make a new list?
Basically, we took 85 best of all time lists and determined from those 85 lists.
No.
Yes.
There's a problem with that. The problem is you're taking lists of best of games, which means the only games you're getting are ones that people already think are the best.
That's true.
This is a problem in itself because that does not denote, like, you should be taking Steam charts or something, where you go, what are, like, the best rated, best-selling games of all time on Steam? Like, give me a top 500 of the most positively reviewed games on Steam.
If this helps, there was additional information that they left on this, on
good.
full methodology. Let's just do the full methodology, damn it. Okay, so according to the user, here's full methodology. So you have 80 historical best-of-all-time lists that were compiled and assessed, including the recent GQ list, as well as lists from IGN and other published over the last 30 years. Each list had a minimum of 50 entries. To ensure sufficient representation, individual rankings were scored based on a curve with bonus points for achieving certain tiers. E.g., making it to the top 10 is meaningful, as well as being declared as the GOAT by a given publisher. Greatest of all time.
Anyways.
On unranked lists, all entries received an average ranking based on size of list. More recent lists were given heavier weight as achieving a top ranking becomes more competitive over time. Appearance frequency was factored in based on release date and list eligibility in order to normalize comparison of older versus newer games. In order to minimize outliers and recency bias, games were only included if they had at least 2 rankings and had been eligible for at least 10 lists since release. And game scores used for final rankings were calculated by multiplying weighted average score on ranked appearances by appearance frequency on eligible lists.
Okay, that's a lot. I'm not a statistician.
You're not a statistician, Alex, but hey, that's a lot more consideration than I would have done. Let me put it that way. So
sure.
I'm gonna go with somebody thought this through. I don't know if this math really maths correctly, but it is impressive that they thought this through.
Yeah.
I have to give them credit.
Do I ultimately probably care about this list at all? Probably not. But is it going to be entertaining? I hope so.
Okay, so I wanted to give people that context because, frankly, like, I can't tell you that that's the best methodology to figure this out, but I have to give them credit for just how much they thought about this beforehand.
Yeah.
There's very few people that would, so thank you. Anyway, alright. So, I wanted to just start by giving you what the top 10 of this list are. And
do we want to do 10 or do we want to do 15? Because you were already telling me that you were happy about the 11th and 12th.
Oh no, I'm gonna save that for a rainy day.
Great. It's rainy today, Nathan.
That's true. No. I'm just gonna do the 10. The other ones are...
Well, 10 to 1, not 1 to 10.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's do 10 to 1. Okay.
Yeah. And then you gotta do 490 to 500.
Yes.
So you get the worst of the best.
Worst of the best, yeah. This is the worst of the best list. Okay, so let's start with number 10, which
sure. These are best games of all time, top 500.
This is the mathematically derived best 10 games of all time, okay?
I feel like that would be a great title for this if it weren't so wordy. Maybe it can be the thumbnail, though.
Yeah, the thumbnail we'll have to have. Anyway, the point is, okay, so here we go. The top 10 mathematically derived best video games of all time. Starting...
Number 10.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's probably fair that it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's how long's it been out for?
11 years now, I think.
Yeah, and it's still majorly played by a lot of people.
Yeah. Like I was telling you before, I don't think that this is going to be particularly surprising, because once we aggregate all of this, you can kind of figure out what the top games
are. Oh, geez, that means Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be on this top list, too.
Oh, do you think so?
Go on. I also think Skyrim is going to be on there.
Maybe it's not as easy as I thought it was.
There's a lot of games. So who knows?
I'm sure they're on here somewhere, but let me tell you what we actually have here. So, number 9 is Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, that's
The original.
that got
2005.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if it's the original or the remake. That game was universally, praised as groundbreaking for so much.
Yeah. 8. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Yeah, again, I mean, it had a rough launch, but it was also universally praised by everyone and their fucking brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the storytelling and whatnot. And now, if only the game didn't control like a tank.
Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that the combat controls are kind of stiff, that was my big complaint of it. That it wasn't for the world building or the storytelling or anything like that. They did a great job with all that.
World building and storytelling are great in the game.
Yeah.
I agree.
7. Legend of Zelda Link to the Past.
Fair? Isn't that the first one?
No. Link to the Past, I think, was mobile. Okay, 6. Super Mario 64.
Again, first, full 3D
platform.
Or faux 3D. No, it was just, one of the first 3D games.
That's true.
That was, full 3D that came out. And again, super groundbreaking of the time. So a lot of these are either incredibly popular or groundbreaking, or both.
Yeah, the ones that really impressed right out of the gate.
RE4, for instance, gave you the over-the-shoulder camera view for the first time.
Yeah, before that they had all of the static backgrounds. They had the static frames. Okay, 5. The Last of Us. Which I understand why it's at the top here, because critics really did love it. I played it, it's great. I will give it that it is a great game. I don't know if it's gonna stay there forever.
But and aren't they already remaking it?
They've already made a remake.
Didn't they? Yeah, they already what's the point of that?
I get it with Resident Evil 4, but yeah.
Wasn't the second one not as good either?
Depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask. Some people thought it was a masterpiece, and some people thought it was terrible. So it had a much more divisive launch.
Alright, fair.
I'd probably find it fine, because I just don't think it was what people expected. But I don't think games should give people exactly what they expect either, because
Mass Effect, it should be the much,
Yeah,
they had to remake their ending because their people hated it so much.
Right, exactly.
Anyways, so Last of Us, I haven't played it. I don't really care for it because it's not really the type of game I play.
Yep.
But
hey, there's something you can try for games outside your wheelhouse. Okay, Half-Life 2.
If I'm trying games outside my wheelhouse, they're not games that are going to be critically panned successes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways. Oh man, Final Fantasy VII better be at the top of this list. Go ahead.
4 is Half-Life 2.
Yep. Haven't played it. Played Half-Life 1 though.
I've played Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is good. I think the reason why that was such a big deal is because obviously it was Valve's new engine, and it was the first one that worked on that engine. Outside of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which actually I think launched a month earlier. Or no, it launched at the same time. 3, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Again, 2 Zelda games on the top 10 list. Ocarina of Time wasn't bad. It was also an N64 game, I believe, or was it GameCube?
Yep. No, it was N64.
Yeah. Again, huge game for the time.
Oh yeah.
It was such an early 3D game, and it was just Zelda. It was great. So
yeah. Number 2 is Tetris. Game Boy.
Okay. Yeah. Massively selling, really simple, addictive. Yeah.
And probably everybody and their uncle has played it, so... Or in my case, my aunt.
Number 1.
Yeah. No, number 1, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
God damn it. No, absolutely not.
I was smirking when you said 2 Legend of Zelda games on the top 10. 3 Legend of Zelda games. I want to
make this clear. I have Breath of the Wild on the Switch.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nothing really that special to me.
Right.
I think it's fine. It's a serviceable game, but it's limited by the fact it's on the fucking Switch.
Right. I would like to play it at some point. I have played some games that are similar to it, like Immortals, Phoenix Rising. is essentially like Ubisoft said, hey, we could make one of those, and it was pretty good. I would like to see like what Breath of the Wild does, but I'm not in any rush to do that, or Tears of the Kingdom for that matter.
Yeah, and the thing about it to me is again with like the Switch, it's such limited hardware.
Yeah.
That it really doesn't do these games justice. Like even when I was playing like Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Scarlet and Ruby. Yeah, the newer Pokemon games, they get a bit glitchy.
Yeah.
They get a bit janky because the hardware doesn't support this. It doesn't render enough. It doesn't give you enough frame rate to make the things not look janky.
Right, I understand. So anyway, that was the 10. You mentioned a few that you thought were at the top 10. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they're in here somewhere. So like, okay, you said Skyrim. Skyrim is 23.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, not because I care about it, but because the world seems to care about it.
It's number 17.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII.
Legend of Dragoon. I want to see if that's on there.
We'll get to Legend of Dragoon. I'll see if it's on here. But anyway, Red Dead Redemption 2 you were mentioning, it's number 27.
Behind Skyrim.
And the original is 24. The first, yeah.
Fair. At least they're close. Anyways.
Yeah. So we have a few. Oh, Tears of the Kingdom is at 43. Hey, that's fun. I guess.
What's at 42?
What's at 42? Metroid Prime.
Anyways,
Mario.
We should get to the bottom 10.
Yeah,
now.
Let's get to the bottom 10 because that's much more interesting. Because like I'm looking through this list as I'm going down, and it's like I've played a lot of these games. How is Psychonauts at 185?
Oh, because you were like one of the 5 people that played it.
That's true. That is fair. That is fair. Okay, so let's get to okay. So here we go. But the bottom 10.
These are the 10 worst best games.
These are the worst best games, and as I'm looking through it, I think I've played exactly one or two of them. Okay, so an oldie at 491 is Wizardry. That's an old RPG series. Way too old.
Isn't that like on the Nintendo maybe?
Oh god.
I don't know.
If I were to look up Wizardry, I actually pulled this up because I was thinking to myself, my goodness, when was this even a thing? And it's like these
1989.
81, I believe, was the first one, something like that. And I don't remember what they were. Yeah, 81 Proving Grounds. So that's like the first Wizardry game.
All right, yeah, and that's not even really a game at that point. That is like
ooh. So here's some fun facts. It was on the Apple II.
Great. I'd never had an Apple II. That's why I didn't play it.
It was ported to Macintosh, the Sharp MZ2500, the Sharp X1 Turbo, WonderSwan.
Next, please.
Yeah, okay. Cave Story.
Isn't that also... Wait.
No, that's not as old. I actually have to play that. I have it, and I have not played it yet. I think I have it downloaded. But that's a more recent one, but it is retro in its look. It's like the side-scroller.
I don't know if I know Cave Story.
I'm
gonna look it up really quick.
You know what? You might actually have it, because I think it was being given away at one point on, like, Epic.
2004 Metroidvania platform adventure video game.
Mm-hmm.
If it was free, I probably wouldn't have grabbed it. Doesn't look like something I'd play.
And yet, it's in the top 500 mathematically derived video games of all time. Shame.
Well, you know. It's also a 3DS game, so, you know.
That's true. Okay, Battlefield 4.
I haven't played any of the Battlefield games.
You see, the thing about Battlefield for me is that I know I've played some Battlefield games, and I know I've played some Call of Duty games. I cannot distinguish between them. They all blur together for me.
I'm not really a big shooter fan at the best of times.
Yeah.
So any of these long-standing series, Call of Duty or Modern Warfare or Battlefield.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm probably not going to play, especially since a lot of them seem to be like cover-based shooters these days.
You're thinking of more like Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon
Sure.
is a lot
I didn't
of,
play any of those either.
Oh, okay.
The last shooter that I've played was actually The Division 2.
Okay. Which is also Ubisoft.
Yeah, which is fine. It's a looter shooter kind of deal, but it's whatever.
Yeah. On a completely different note, number 494. Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest.
Diddy's Kong Quest?
I guess yeah, apparently Diddy's Kong Quest is what it was.
I don't think I played that one.
Yeah.
I played Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong 64.
I played a little bit, I think, like demos of Donkey Kong Country, because those are the side-scrolling ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I played Donkey Kong Country.
And they're fine, but...
They're fine. I don't think I played that specifically, though.
Yeah. Now, see, 495, though, this is the one I do remember playing. And it's Ninja Gaiden. I did play Ninja Gaiden. It is.
That's not the Nintendo one, right?
No. This one I'm going to guess is the version that was on, like, the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Yeah, I probably didn't play it.
Yeah. I beat it, but I will tell you that it was painful for a good chunk of it, because, you know, we have, like, Souls-likes now, where people go, oh, the difficulty. Go back and play Ninja Gaiden, because it is those kinds of, like, boss battles and stuff, but it is all about speed. And so, like, when you're dealing with, like, bosses that are in the background, trying to, like, jet up and around the battlefield to avoid all of the projectiles, it's fast difficulty, which is is hard. Then you get to the last boss, and it's a cakewalk, and you're like, well, that was anticlimactic. Okay, for 496, Ridge Racer 1995. Ridge Racer.
Was that an arcade game?
It might have been, but I think it did go to home consoles.
I don't remember that one specifically, so... It's great when the bottom of the list I can't remember the games on.
You might know this next one, though. Pokemon Diamond version.
Fair. I don't think I have Diamond.
Okay.
I think they just recently did the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, however, so if you wanted to get it on the Switch, you could get the remade version.
There you go. That's something.
But I did not play Diamond or Pearl.
Yeah.
I played Gen 1, Gen 2, skipped 3 and 4 and 5 until Gen 6 is when I picked it up again.
Yeah.
And that was Omega Ruby.
Okay. Yeah.
And Omega Ruby I put 400 some odd hours into.
Perfect. Almost 500. Which is...
Almost 500, like this
there
episode.
You go. I think the last, like, Pokemon game that I really played was way back when with, like, Red and Blue. I have not really played versions past that.
They've come a long way.
Oh yeah, I know, but I just haven't played them. I haven't played, like, the new one. I don't have a Switch, so I haven't really gotten a chance to play, like, the Sword and Shield or anything like that, but...
I haven't played Sword and Shield.
Yeah, you played Arceus. You
played some Arceus, and I played some Scarlet Ruby.
Okay, 498 is PUBG Battlegrounds.
No.
That's a good place for it. This is a good place for it.
I guess.
Because, yeah, I understand a lot of influence that it had, especially on multiplayer shooters, but I also don't care. 499, Tempest. The original Tempest from 1972 to 1984. That would have been in the arcades. Atari classic.
Yeah, it would have been a pixel game at best.
Oh, yeah. It was not complicated. But it was also probably the one that everybody played, and it was easy to pick up. And it's all about trying to dodge the projectiles coming at you and shoot the things that are in the background. And it's very straightforward.
Games back then were much simpler.
Much simpler and easy to pick up and play. Yeah, they had to be, so that you could keep dropping quarters. But then also incredibly difficult to finish, so that you had to keep pumping the quarters in. That's how arcade games work. And,
yep.
And then number 500, Crash Bandicoot.
What? I mean, I guess Collectathon. It was.
I don't know where you
Crash, so there's at least 1 or 2 games on the bottom of this list I've played.
I mean, I guess I don't know where else you would put Crash Bandicoot, because I understand that, a lot of people liked it, but it could also be a real frustrating mess sometimes.
Yeah.
I played the remake that they did more recently, and I think that they were trying to fix some stuff because they made like the platforms like a little too small for the hitbox, so that you'd fall off of them constantly, and
nice.
It was very frustrating trying to play the game, but I understand that like a lot of people liked the Crash Bandicoot series. It's an interesting version of platforming where you're running forward instead of doing like side-scroller action, or so
it's 'cause it's 3D, so
yeah, it's 3D, but at the same time it feels kind of on rail by comparison to like
a lot of those
Mario
games
64.
were.
Yeah. I mean, Mario 64 has a lot more freedom of movement, but Crash Bandicoot pretty much just has you're going in pretty straight lines. It's that kind of thing. But at any rate, that is the bottom tier, and it's just, I find it kind of interesting because on the one hand, they have to be good games to make it onto a 500, because there's just tens of thousands of games, but at the same time,
there's a lot of games.
Yeah, there are thousands released every year, really. But not they have to be good games, but they also can't be very good, or they would be higher up on the list. So you have this interesting dichotomy. And then, you start looking at, like, what other things are on here. I don't know about the methodology that they used in order to get this aggregated list together. I don't think anyone's going to do more research in order to get this perfected in any way.
Yep.
But I do appreciate that somebody really wanted to get this list together. I think we might have some disagreements on what that top 10 might be.
At the end of the day, it doesn't affect me a whole lot, so...
Right, you're gonna enjoy what you're gonna enjoy, so...
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you my, like, top played games fairly easily. Like, if I were to give you, like, my top played games of all time, essentially it would be World of Warcraft at the top with over, I think, 7,000 hours in it. And then Diablo 3 has over 1,000 hours in it.
Oh, sure.
And then, like, even if I just look at Steam, like, my top game has 870 hours in it. My second top game has 770 hours in it.
Nice.
And that's Warhammer 40k Inquisitor Martyr at 890 or 870.
Right.
And then Elite Dangerous at 770 like, hours played. So, like, if we were talking about games you can play for 500 hours, it goes to Warcraft, Diablo, Inquisitor Martyr, and then Elite Dangerous.
Right. So,
yours goes to Stardew Valley.
Mine is Stardew Valley, and probably some Bethesda RPGs, and Witcher 3. I put like 100 hours. Oh, and Cyberpunk. I think I put 100 hours into Cyberpunk, and probably Grand Theft Auto. Few of the Grand Theft Autos. I like what I like. I don't know what to tell you.
Same. 7,000 hours into World of Warcraft. I like what I like too, buddy.
Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do? I'm guessing. I guess the question that maybe we should ask is, what would your 500th favorite game be?
What is your number 500?
Yeah, what's your number 500 on this very, very, very technical discussion that we're having here?
Yeah.
This very analytical one that is completely objective in every single way. you let us know in the comments down below as we celebrate 6 or so videos.
Over 500 videos. Go back and watch them all.
Every single one of them. You can enjoy them at your leisure.
You can leave a like on each one, you can comment on each one, and if you really want, you can subscribe for each one.
Yeah, you could. You could subscribe, and then you could unsubscribe and subscribe again. That probably helps. I don't know. I really don't know how that works.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay, never mind. So, Alex, I wanted to talk to you about your experience with a little game called Armored Core.
Right. I got it around Christmas. I put some time into it. It took a little bit of time off from it, and I was playing again this morning because if we're going to talk about it, it needs to be in recent memory because ADHD means that I don't remember fucking shit.
That's terrific. But at any rate, we're talking about FromSoft, but this is a very different game than what we would normally think of as like their Soul-like genre.
Yes. So I had originally put it on my wish list because I was like, all right, big robots, and there's a couple other games I've gotten that were big robot games.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them were okay, a couple of them were not okay. But this one I saw and it looked interesting. I'm sure you've seen the trailers for it.
Oh yeah.
And some of the gameplay, and I think one of your favorite Iron Pineapples did play it and did a video on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that as well. I'm like, okay, this looks like it could be really fun. But I also don't really care for FromSoft's like Dark Souls. Divisive comments, I know. I mean, not really here. Not really here.
yeah. We'll get into that in the next segment, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm notoriously not good at Souls-likes, but Armored Core is not a Souls-like.
Yeah, what is it?
It is a Armored Core game. I don't really know how to describe it. Like, if I were to go in right now, I'll tell you what it's got tagged on Steam really quick. Hold on. Armored Core Fires of Rubicon, or Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. The tags that it has are mechs, action robots, third-person combat, fast-paced sci-fi, multiplayer. It does have Souls-like as a tag, but I don't consider that to be fair. Futuristic post-apocalyptic single-player vehicular combat, difficult soundtrack, military action adventure, and atmospheric. I guess you could say it's an action mech game. It is a difficult game. I don't really know. It's not really Souls-like because if you went into this expecting to play it like you would play Dark Souls, you'd be very, very met. You'd be met with something that's very different. Yeah, you'd be disappointed, I think.
Do you think that it had Souls-like on there mostly because since it's FromSoft, people would find it easier to find it?
I feel like it's got Souls-like as a tag because of the difficulty curve.
Okay.
Okay. But I don't feel like it's Souls-like. There's no roll button. So
there's no roll button.
There's no rolling.
It's not like rhythm-based combat where you have to figure out your opponent's like move sets and stuff like that. Or...
Not really. Like the bosses definitely have move sets and telegraphing that they do for some of it, but it's not. I don't think, anyways. I'm not a rhythm game person. I haven't noticed a rhythm to it. But like you get their attack patterns down.
Sure.
But then they can do other things in their attack pattern. So you kind of get their movements and whatnot down.
Right.
But like it's very mobile.
Sure.
As opposed to, I feel like Dark Souls is a methodical game.
Yes.
It's a much slower paced. And this one is a lot faster paced.
Okay.
So instead of like, yes, I'm kind of sitting there waiting and then I'm going to block an attack, it's like, no. I'm going to be shooting guns this whole time and hoping I can get an opening and dodging their bullets this whole time. And then when I get an opening, I'm going to come in with a sword and hack and slash and shoot and rocket and all that good stuff. But yeah, I've played some other games that involve mechs. One of them is Mech Warrior, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And another one was, I think, an Epic game that I got. It's Daemon Ex Machina or something like that.
Oh,
that was very anime. Have you played it or seen it?
I've seen it. I haven't played it.
It's very anime-esque, but it is faster paced, which I did like. Mech Warrior, though, is much more slow. It is very much a game that is played. You slog through the battlefields.
Oh yeah.
And so I played that, and I was like, I kind of like it, but I kind of don't because it's very, very sluggish. And it's great if you want to feel like a giant robot that's just devastating a battlefield, essentially.
Right.
But the pacing, I don't care for. It's just, all right, well, it's slow, it's ponderous movement, and, you've got to be very situational with it, I guess. But Armored Core is not sluggish at all.
No, it looked like it was going to be pretty fast-paced in his...
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that help at all with the overall experience?
It does. Because one of the big things with that is it's also a mission-based game.
Oh, okay.
So it is not like, hey, you're going to have to do a lot of traversal and overworld travel and going back and forth to locations. There's no backtracking.
Yeah.
For instance, the game is, here's a mission, do the mission, finish the mission, and go back to your loadout screen, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Take on new missions, do arena battles, do other stuff like that. But you've got your hub, which is just, all right, you can buy and sell parts, you can customize your mech, you can paint it, you can do all this stuff. But then when you want to go back into a mission, you can just go back into a specific mission.
Yeah.
You can even replay older missions for money.
Okay.
So, I was doing this earlier. You can, go back and try to S-rank the missions. So, I was doing this a little bit earlier. I was like, all right, I haven't played in, a couple weeks. Let's get back into some missions I've already done. Or make sure I knew the controls. And I'm like, all right, time for a new mission. One of the fun things that's really fun with it, I think, is that you get to buy parts. And the way you can load out your mech is very, very versatile. Okay. You can, say, change the head, torso, arms, legs. You can change the shoulder-mounted weapons, hand-mounted weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the booster on the back you can change. You can change a ECM chip or whatever it is, a microchip that you've got for guidance controls.
Okay.
And then a generator as well for power supply.
Okay.
All of these things are customizable.
Sure.
So if you want to go in, say, do a heavyweight build where you take the most defensive and bulkiest parts you can do that 100%.
Yeah.
You can be like, I have the heaviest mech and the most HP possible, and firing heavy weapons doesn't mean I have to brace. I just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get to the body of a tank. Yeah. That is a thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. I haven't bought that body. I'm having fun on legs.
Right.
One of the bodies I need to get that's really cool replaces your legs with these spider legs, essentially, like tetrapod legs.
Oh.
And you've got these four limbs, but what you can do with it is you can jump and hover.
You can jump and hover. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it lets you hover.
See, I thought you were going to say that I could, climb up walls, and I got very excited.
I mean, you don't really need to climb up the walls because you have boosters. You can do vertical takeoff really well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Even the tank body gets to do some vertical lift. It's not a lot, but there are lightweight aerodynamic legs and body parts you can get that increase your jump distance and make you just really fast.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You've got a dodge button.
Mm-hmm.
You have some shields you can equip, if you'd like. Tons of missiles and rockets and all sorts of weapons. But one of the really cool things with that, for me, is that, Nathan, you were playing Elden Ring the other day on stream.
Mm-hmm.
If you died to a boss, first of all, you had to go collect your body again.
You have to collect your runes, yeah.
Yeah. If I die in Armored Souls. Armored
Souls.
There's no going in and recollecting your body. There's no penalty to dying on a mission.
Okay.
You can just restart it. It's fine because it's mission based, and that's fine. It's not like game over. It's like, all right, you died. Do you want to restart the mission? Restart the mission. Or you can just go back to the hub.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cool things I like is that there's checkpoints in the missions. So if I die to a boss, for instance, I go, great. For you in Dark Souls, Elden Rings, you have to traverse all the way back to get your body, usually.
From the bonfire site of grace or whatever it is, yeah.
And if you die on the way there, then you lose all that progress you made, all the souls, all the runes, whatever you
Everything you were holding, yeah.
I don't have that issue. If I die, whatever. I can restart the mission. If I die at where there's a checkpoint, I can restart from the checkpoint. No negatives there, and sometimes dying and restarting at a checkpoint is a bonus because you get all your health repair kits, Eustace Flask, refilled, all your HP refilled, and ammo refilled at the checkpoint. So that's kind of great. But if I die to a boss, I can go restart from checkpoint, or I can die to the boss, and instead of restarting from the checkpoint, I can go back into my assembly. I can swap out my loadout.
Okay.
From there, I can go, this build is not working for this boss. I need to try something different. And the game is very good about saying, like, I know Iron Pineapple said it when he, like, talked to the designers of it. And he did it when he was playing. If the weapon loadout and whatever you're using is not working, try something else.
Yeah.
I had a boss I was throwing myself at a couple times and went, this is not working. I need to try a different tactic.
Yes.
So I swapped out from, say, a burst rifle to, like, a shotgun. Something close range instead of far range. Got up in the thing's face and was like, okay, cool. There's a weak point here. Now I know what I have to do. Get in close. Still died. Okay. I'm like, alright, so I know better what I have to do now. But you can still swap out, like, maybe I can use a different type of missile or, like, a different type of damage. Explosives, for instance. I had a boss that I was having a hard time with, and I found out there's 2 weak spots on it you can hit. But if you're in close near them, it's got these arms that it protects the weak spot on its, like, chest with, essentially. So if you're in close, the thing will, like, wreck you. It'll tear you up. It's got, like, massive shredders on it.
Yeah.
But if I back up with a rocket launcher and just, like, shoot it, brace, and wait until it does this thing where its arms are open, shoot it in the chest, massive stagger.
Yeah. Okay.
You know? So you kind of do that, and once you stagger it, you fly in and beat the shit out of it. It's a lot more forgiving, I think.
Sure. It encourages more experimentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, like, maybe I want to swap out my entire, everything. I have yet to buy the tetrapod or tank legs, and I haven't gotten any of the versatile, like, aerodynamic ones, because I like having some of the HP bonuses that I've got. Those ones are a lot more fragile, but they also have a lot higher boost and a lot better mobility. So it's really nice that you can kind of, like, swap out your parts at will. You buy the parts, and then you have them.
Yes.
And you can swap them out either between missions or at checkpoints of missions. So you can just kind of try whatever. The other fun thing with that, too, is that you don't lose your progress like that in the Souls-likes.
Okay.
So the only time I incur a, like, money penalty is at the end of a mission. And it is for repair. And it is for, like, refilling my ammunition.
Okay.
So you get paid out for the mission, and sometimes you'll have bonus rewards based on certain criteria you do. Like either the amount of enemies killed or collecting things on the mission. And so you've got base pay, bonus pay, and then, like, costs that you've incurred.
Sure.
And sometimes, it's like, all right, I lost, like, 100k because I had to repair a bunch of times and I had to, like, refill all this ammo. But you don't, it's like, you still get positives. You're not getting negatives.
Yes.
So I don't, every time I die, I don't incur a cost penalty.
Sure.
Which is nice, because it's like, all right, you failed the mission, take a cost penalty. It's like, no, that would be bad. I would hate that.
Yeah. That kind of it reminds me a little bit. Remember when we were playing Hardpoint Shipbreaker?
Yep. Hard space.
Hard space shipbreaker. There are hard points in the game. I guess that's why I'm
there are
there. But hard space shipbreaker, and you're on a timer, and at the end of each day, when you're on the timer, you get charged for like all of this stuff that you had to incur for your rental costs and stuff until you buy product outright, until you buy your equipment. But at least they're doing it at the end of the mission, which I mean, in some ways that is, like, in the Souls games, you do kind of get paid out after you kill the bosses because you get a bunch of your currency, whatever it is in the game. But the problem is the continuous dying and having to go pick up your stuff. So there is a very potential possibility that you're going to lose all of your currency essentially in the game, which is functionally part of the game mechanically, but it's a very different kind of style. So it's faster, it's mission based, it's a shooter, like it's shooting based.
There are melee weapons in it too, of course, but like there's a lot of guns. There's a lot more guns than I have found melee weapons. I have 2 swords, a stabby weapon, tried a little bit, but it's kind of a little weird one. I think it would be best used like after stunning an enemy. And I just picked up a shock baton that I have not used yet.
Okay. I'm gonna guess that does some electrical damage, which might be useful.
Yeah, it can stun the enemy, which is why I got it.
Yes, exactly.
But there's rockets, grenades, there's napalm, missiles, there's machine guns, there's rifles, there's plasma guns.
Okay.
I've been having fun with this the plasma gun that I just got because you can charge it up and hit multiple enemies, and it does a lot of EM damage, which is good.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of differences here than what people might think if they were picking it up because they thought it was going to be a Souls game.
Yeah, it is similar a bit when you're playing Elden Ring. You're looking at all the different stats that you have.
Sure.
And then kind of getting your context of like, what does this mean? What do those mean? It's got all the same type of stats on there as the Souls-like and FromSoft games have. It's got your explosive resistance, kinetic resistance, your energy resistance. It's got all these stuff. But it does make it easy to kind of look at it and go, that's an improvement, that's a detractment, what are these used for, and what do I want?
Do you have weight limits or loads?
Yes.
Okay.
They are based on, I think, the legs you use.
Okay. Excellent.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's also, there are weapons that are made for heavier outfitting. It's like, this is a heavier weapon. It's great for, I think I got a booster that was like, this is great for, like, heavyweight builds. Mm-hmm. And then another one that's like, this is great for lightweight or medium builds. Sure. Because it's more geared towards those. So the same thing can be said with some of the other weapons as well. Some of the shoulder-mounted weapons are like, this is like great. It's a lightweight missile launcher. It is great for lightweight builds. It doesn't do necessarily as much damage as the heavier ones, but it's much faster to like reload, and the energy consumption is less, for instance.
I see. Okay. So that's interesting. All right, so we have a game that definitely doesn't feel like it's in classical Souls-like fashion, just because of the things that I normally associate it with. Because you're on specific missions, you're choosing those missions, you have checkpoints, and it's more about actually testing out and trying new things, which I never found Souls-likes are really as encouraging about that because of the potential risk of losing stuff. Like, if you go too close to a cliff and you're like, oh, I think that there's something over the cliff, you're very hesitant to try anything like that, because the souls are just gonna, like, drop there, and then you gotta make your way back to it. Armored Core, if you're talking about, like, trying different things and not having to worry too much about the loss of it, I usually appreciate it when games will do stuff like that, because it gives me the encouragement to, experiment with the game system. An example from a game from last year that does that is Atomic Heart, which was sort of like, what if BioShock but in Russia? But in that game, the whole system of upgrading for your guns, for your armaments, for your essentially stand-in plasmids and your abilities, they're a 1-to-1 ratio for trade-ins. So if you spend 100 polymer on this upgrade and you later decide I'm going to respec, you get 100 polymer back from having put it in. And same thing for weaponry, you get all of your crafting materials back when you decide you don't want that upgrade or you want to choose something else. So there's there's like no penalty for changing out upgrades, de-leveling stuff and putting it into other stuff. So I really appreciated that. One of the better systems in the game. Yeah.
I don't think there's a crafting mechanic in this. I haven't had any materials drop or anything like that.
You just buy them?
Yeah, you just buy the parts. They're made by someone else, so that makes more sense.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But I do like that you can customize the appearance as well. Like, you can customize the colors, painting, patterns, make your mech look what you want. I've got this nice teal and black and orange, I think, on my mech right now.
Okay.
And I think there's a way you can upload images to it as well.
Oh.
I haven't figured that out yet, but like for instance, I want to maybe if I can upload a TPK logo to it and put that on my mech somewhere.
Oh, that's cool. That'll get you some screenshots. Yeah.
I just unlocked some body parts that are like old style, so I think they're probably from one of the older Armored Core games probably, but they're much bulkier and riveted looking.
Sure.
So they're like an older style variant where it's just squat mech.
Yeah.
Which is neat.
Yeah.
And I saw they have mods for it. Obviously, people have modded in Gundams.
Perfect.
And I think somebody modded a Thomas the Tank Engine in for fun.
Is that just like a bog standard thing that you do now? Just get a Thomas the Tank Engine and everything?
Yeah.
Perfect. I have played but a few mech games over my many years. One of them was very good, but it wasn't really built on customization as much, which was Titanfall 2.
I don't know if I'd even consider that a mech game. It has a mech in it.
There's mechs. Sometimes you're in the mech, sometimes you're on foot. So it's kind of a hybrid between like a shooter, but then also you've got the mech with you. Multiplayer is actually pretty fun in that, which is rare for me to actually enjoy a multiplayer experience.
I just unlocked matchmaking, and I was trying to see if I could get a match before we recorded, but I could not.
Yeah. I'm never good at like those PvP arenas and stuff.
I'd like to try it. I'd like to get trounced.
Yeah, well, that's me. I've found that like Elden Ring has like PvP in it too. If you want to do like Colosseums, and I'm like, no, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm actually playing offline entirely right now.
Yeah.
For kind of that reason. Also, so that I don't have a billion notes strewn around the world. The other mech game I played, but it doesn't have the kind of customization, was a free one that caused me so much pain. I don't know if you've ever tried Hawken. Have you ever tried a game called Hawken? That's a free-to-play game. That game gave me a headache. It's the stamina meter is so low and the recovery is so long.
Yeah. There's not a stamina meter in Armored Core, for instance, but there is a boost gauge for it.
Okay.
That is for like boosting. It is also used for dodging.
Yeah.
But the great thing about that is doing a lightweight build makes it last longer, and depending what generator and boosters you have, can really increase the time that you've got that.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do a really agile build with very fast recovery or just a massive amount of boost, you could.
So basically, are you trying to sell me on the idea of playing Armored Core 6?
I think if you would like a Souls-like experience with a lot more customization and maybe finding the first FromSoft game that you would actually enjoy, I think you should play it. I will go in saying that it is still a trademark FromSoft game, and the bosses are still fairly difficult at times.
Yeah.
I definitely had one point where I was playing it and I threw myself at a boss for like an hour and I was like, I'm done with this game for right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do something else, like play House Flipper.
Yeah. It's they're very different game, House Flipper. than this.
I just played something to relax after that.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's very gratifying when you do kill a boss. I had one earlier that I got to. It was the end of the chapter 2, I think I've gotten to now.
Sure.
In the game. And I was like, all right, end of chapter, there's going to be a boss fight. And I think I spent a half hour trying to get this boss.
Yeah.
So not terrible. I think I did decent. I died several times and changed out my tactics each time. I was like, all right, I think I've kind of got some of their attack pattern down. One of the great things about being able to restart from a checkpoint, though, is if your opening part to the fight is terrible, you can just go, oh, nope, that didn't work, restart.
Yeah, restarting's got to be a fun thing that you can actually do.
Yeah, because there's several times where I've been fighting a boss, and like, you learn its pattern at the beginning. For instance, I had one that just jumps at you right away. It was that guy with the thing on his chest, I think. He just jumps at you right away, and it's like, you need to dodge out of the way, like, within 5 seconds of the fight opening. And sometimes you just didn't do it, and it's like, alright, let's try that again right from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't want to open up a boss fight with me losing half my HP and having to use a health kit right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, alright, let's try that again, but dodge this stuff.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, I might have to keep an eye out for it if I have time this coming year. Maybe I'll give it a run. Will I like it more than the other FromSoft games? It's not a hard bar for me, I guess. It's maybe we'll find out. I'm appreciating that with the last few entries from their catalog that they've kind of stepped out of what we normally traditionally think of as their games. So, they've been doing a good job with that. Okay, Armored Core 6. Get your big mech today, I guess. If I try it, though, we'll definitely talk about it on air.
And if you've tried it, let us know what your thoughts on the game are down in the comments. Did you have a hard time with it? Were you crazy good at it? What is your favorite mech body to use? I am partial to normal legs. I don't remember what I have. I think it's a medium weight build.
Also, question for everybody is, would you consider Armored Core to be a Souls-like game? Would you consider it to be, and for what reason? I see a lot of differentiation from the formula, but I can kind of understand some of the similarities there with weight and the emphasis on boss battles and
I don't think there's enough there that is similar to a typical Souls-like for me to consider it one.
Right. The restarting is definitely a big change, so I like that though. I like restarting. Alex, when I was pulling up that 500 best video games of all time that were mathematically derived, one thing that I thought was very interesting is that number 11 on that list is Elden Ring.
Hey, didn't you play that one recently?
I did. I played it on stream for several hours, and people got to watch me suffer.
I think you made yourself suffer.
I kind of did. It is not necessarily the kind of thing that I don't think I suffered through it. I don't really think I suffered through it, but I did meander. I did meander, and I wound into some pretty shaky territory. The thing that's interesting is this was like my next attempt at trying to get into FromSoft games, because Demon's Souls and Dark Souls did not go well for me. But I thought that Elden Ring might actually do it because it's an open world game. And I do like those, and, I'll like myself a lot of Souls-like games, and maybe this would actually do it for me. So, played some more of it the day after that, and I was kind of at the point where I wanted to give up. But I had this duality to me, because on the one hand, it was kind of frustrating, and I don't have a lot of patience as I used to. Once upon a time, especially if it's a game where I feel like I'm going to just be suffering through it. And Elden Ring definitely has those points where you're just like, oh my god, why am I dying so many times to this just errant knight out in the middle of nowhere?
Why is this random mook just murdering me?
Yeah, constantly. And it's, at least you have the ability to go in different directions, and I liked that. So I had this dichotomy. On the one hand, I was kind of just feeling kind of tired of running through these again and again and again, and I got to some stopping points where I'm trying to get over the bridge where the fire catapults are coming down on me, and I have to keep going across the bridge constantly and dying to the random knight that's just sitting at a fireplace. And I sat there and I thought, well, I don't really like that. However, at the same time, there's stuff about the game that I like, because I like the exploration parts, and I like some of the stuff that's going on. And it was at that point that I started to realize that there's kind of two kinds of Souls players. There's the ones that we normally think about, and then there's the other ones, and I think I'm the other one in this scenario. Let me just see if I can explain what those are without belaboring the point. So, the typical way we think of, Souls players is something I'm calling the warrior, which is a skill-based gamer. They're the ones. Okay. They're the ones that
the warrior. We call them sweaty.
They're the sweaty warrior. But the warrior model is that we analyze our opponents and we figure out their movesets, and we learn the best, the perfect time to dodge and the perfect time that we need to parry or jump, or we learn the movesets. And then the movesets allow us to, because of the skills that we've acquired by analyzing the enemies, we can move on in the game. And I think that that's what, even if FromSoftware games don't necessarily explicitly tell you that that's what they're doing, most people assume it is. That it's that. It's getting the rhythm of that combat down, it's understanding what those movesets are, and understanding how you get better at the twitch movements and all of that when you're moving through. That's the typical one. I am not that kind of a gamer. But there's a problem, because there's a lot of Souls-likes that I have played that I've enjoyed. And I think it's because there's the other model, which I am just going to be calling the Scholar. And the Scholar model is about knowledge-based gaming, which is where you learn about the systems of the game and learn how to utilize the systems in the game to make the game easier. So, Lies of P is a good example of this, actually, because I played that, I finished that. Even though a lot of people said that was a really hard game, I didn't have as much of a hard time with it. And one of the reasons is because Lies of P, really early on, encourages you to play around with, their gear upgrading systems, where you can trade out hammers and heads, and they all have different kinds of movesets and abilities, and so I'm trying out different combinations of those things, and how the movesets work, and this would be a lot more useful so I don't have to get into direct combat. They encourage you to try out upgrades for different kinds of special arms that you can utilize, and all of this stuff, and encourage you to explore a little bit more, and, learn about the upgrade systems and stuff like that. So, what I found was in that game, I found weaponry, and I found abilities and movesets that allowed me to not even get directly into combat most of the time, where I could stay back, and I could, whip my giant, what they call the puppet ripper, which is a big scythe that, flails out on a chain, and I could do, area of effect abilities, where I could back up and around corners, and I could hit people that way, by experimentation, by, learning the systems. And Elden Ring is one of those cases where it has those systems in place of learning how to do upgrades, learning about your Ashes of War, and how to, modify the special skills of every single weapon that you have. And there's sorceries, and there's incantations that you probably didn't know about at the start. And there's the Spirit Ashes, where you can summon special, creatures, like wolves or something, to your aid in certain spots. But it doesn't really explicitly tell you a lot of that up at the front. You don't really necessarily know that, well, yeah, I have these spirit ashes where I can summon the wolves, but before I do that, I have to be in an area where there's a summoning pool, so that it tells me that it's available. I also have to have the spirit bell, which I have to buy from somebody in order to do that. And then I have to have the necessary spirit ashes. Like, I have to have the spirits of war. You might not know that you can change out these spirit ashes on your weaponry unless you happen to go down into a tunnel in one of the early camps and find a whetstone that lets you do that at the Sites of Grace. You might only find that out when you get to like the Roundhold Keep, where you is that what it's called? The Round Table Hold. Round Table Hold.
Sure. Whatever it was.
Where we went there when I was on stream, but where the blacksmith will be able to do that kind of thing for you. You may not know that you can actually upgrade all of those spirits of war. If it weren't for the fact that you have to talk to a certain character, get that character to apprentice under the blacksmith at the keep, at the hold, and then have them be taken under the wing of that character. It's obscured. A lot of this stuff is very obscured. A lot of the Souls games that I have enjoyed, though, have made it a little bit more explicit or obvious, and have presented those early on. Surge 2, for instance, has this whole system that I'm sure you're familiar with, having played a little bit of it, where you cut off certain limbs, and by doing that, you actually get upgrade parts and special weapons and arms, and that's introduced in the first, 30 minutes of the game. It's introduced very early on, and it's made explicit that this is a big system in the game that you can utilize right before you start getting into a boss where it becomes more obvious that you need to know how to do this. And so you're presented with them pretty up front. Elden Ring doesn't really specify a lot of that. Even if you've gone through the Little Cave of Discovery, a lot of those systems are kind of kept away from you, and you have to try and work it out, but you have to keep playing the game, and if you're not enjoying the skill-based gaming of it, you might not really get into the knowledge-based gaming of it. It's
right.
People assume that you have to be the warrior, and they don't really understand that some people are the scholar, even though it's there. It's not as accessible early on. So, upshot, here's what happened with me. Before I decided to just step away entirely from the game, I thought, well, I'm going to give it one more chance, and I'm going to see if there's a mod where I can make this simpler for myself. And would you believe that somebody actually thought to make an easy mode for Elden Ring?
Absolutely.
They did. So what I did...
I was pretty sure when I was looking at mods for Armored Core, I didn't install any. I was just seeing what they had to see, appearances and stuff.
I'm sure they have
because people will do that. They 100%. There's easy mode. There's also harder modes. There are modes for that one that make it so your mooks are a lot less trivial, which actually sounded more interesting, but not that interesting, because unless they're going to drop some kind of loot, I don't really want them to be less trivial. Right.
So at any rate, I found easy mode for Elden Ring, and I'm going to guess that I am not alone in having this problem. It has had over 100,000 unique downloads. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say that over 3,000 endorsements on Nexus. I'm going to assume that I'm not the only one that has been having some similar problems. And it does a lot of great things. It minimizes the damage that the enemies do, especially the bosses. You do a little bit more. You get more runes, lot more runes from, killing enemies. No weight requirements. That system is gone. If you do die, your runes drop right next to the Site of Grace, so you can just pick them up immediately, which encourages more of that exploration and experimentation, where you're really exploring the world. And I gotta tell you, boy, that made the game so much more enjoyable for me. Because all of those roadblocks are out of the way, and I get to do the game the way I wanted to play it, which is more of the finding out what those systems are in the game that I didn't even know about, and I probably would have never even bothered to discover because the skill-based part of it is in the way. So I don't really understand, like, the usefulness of the upgrade systems and the tiering of all of those different weaponry, and, you know, how you can create your builds where you can have two different kinds of weapons, or how you even use sorceries and incantations, which is, unless you have certain classes, Yeah,
you were having trouble trying to use those when you were playing.
Yeah, because they'll let you have it. What you don't know, unless you really start getting into it, is to cast sorcery spells, I have to have a staff equipped. Because the staff is what, you know, launches sorcery spells. But if you have incantations, I need to have, like, I don't even remember what they're called, but they're like talismans that you have to keep in your hand. You have to have that equipped to do the spell. Like, that's just the way it is. And if you didn't pick up one of the classes that was specific to those, you wouldn't know. You just wouldn't know that that's a thing that you have to do, and you probably wouldn't even pick up that stuff until many, many hours into the game, if you even knew what you were looking for. So the obscurity of it is where the problem really came down for me, is trying to figure out what those systems are. Because once I saw those systems, I was like, oh, cool, there's all these different ways that you can address a problem. There's all these different... I don't have to do the thing where I just, like, try to wait for the guy to swipe. No, I get different kinds of builds. I get different kinds of equipment. I get different kinds of move sets. And I figure out how to... Oh, I can distract them because I brought the wolves out. Or this knight that I got. Now they're distracted, so now I can hit them from the back. And there's a lot of different ways to address issues in that game. Even bosses. But you wouldn't know about it if you were just going at it thinking that you're doing the warrior method, the skill-based combat. If you're a scholar, Elden Ring probably isn't going to work for you if you're doing knowledge-based gaming. But there have been a lot of Souls games that I have played and have finished without any modification, without any, like, you know, trying to nerf it for myself, that I have finished. Finished Lies of P, Surge 2, Remnant, Darksiders 3, list goes on. They ain't easy, but they did give me the knowledge systems up front to learn about some of the different systems and different ways that you can approach things in a way that Elden Ring didn't really make as clear. And I think that that's kind of the reason why other FromSoft games had given me a problem in the past, is because you know, if you've watched anything about them, that there are other systems in the game that might make things easier. I've heard, like, if you're playing, like, a Dark Souls, if you do sorceries, or you do, like, or you have friends that come into the game, that will make it easier, but it's not really communicated very well to you at the beginning of the game, or accessible, necessarily.
Yeah.
I played Dark Souls for probably a good 5 to 10 hours, and I don't think I ever came across any information that you could even cast spells. Like it wasn't even made for that. I didn't even know that was an option, really, at the front. I'd like to engage with the experimentation of figuring out all these systems and the best builds. Surge 2, one of the most fun things I found was, how do I get a weapon that's going to hit as quickly as possible and build out all of my upgrades so that I gain life and battery power the more I hit. And believe it or not, that ended up being really useful. There was one random boss battle that I came in contact with that I didn't remember was there or didn't know, and I had gotten the fists, I had upgraded those a bit, and I had created this whole thing where the more times you punch at a certain point, you gain more and more health and battery life, which you can use to automatically regain health. And I just started going in and just wailing on this boss like this, beat him in 2 minutes. Just beat him in 2 minutes, and did that for a few others, because it's like, oh, this build works. It's not about the skill of trying to figure out when they're swiping and all that. I've been able to build it because I understand the systems of the game and how I can utilize those to the best of their ability. I think that there are skill-based players that will then learn the systems of the game to make it more optimal, but the skill part seems to come first with a lot of those FromSoft games. And I think that that's one of the big hurdles that I've had in the past. Knowing that, maybe I can go back to them and try to overcome the hurdle, but, you know.
Maybe. Or you can go play Armored Core, and then you can just customize and build the way you want.
Well, see, that's the thing. When you're talking to me about Armored Core, that makes me think that it takes more of that approach of understanding the knowledge of the systems to optimize, to become better at a system or find workarounds to that system. Even in Dark Souls, I had to learn that there were other ways you could deal with bosses. Like there's the Taurus Demon, which is one of the early bosses, and if you're a skill player, you learn when to dodge and everything like that. If you're a person like me, you find out that you can go up to the top of the tower. You can climb up the ladder to the tower, and when the Taurus Demon is underneath you, you can just drop down and smack him on top of the head and take off about a third of his life. Because that's the kind of thing I want to know about. Like, how do I utilize these systems to the best of their ability?
Right.
So, I don't know how other people feel about it, but I think that this might explain the divide that I have, where it's like, I like the genre, but not everything in the genre. Not every game.
I think it's the get good versus the get smarter.
yeah, exactly. It's the work smarter, not harder. You're either going to work harder or you're going to work smarter at it. And the two can be combined. I think that if you're getting smart at the game systems, you might also find the benefit of learning the intricacies of boss battles and the movement and the flow. If you're interested in the dodging and the parrying systems and making sure you're doing it perfectly every single time, you still eventually get into the part where you learn how to upgrade and customize your abilities and everything like that. But the primary goal for me was always about the knowledge of the game systems and how they work, more than the ability to do the Twitch gaming, skill-based gaming for all of that. So, very different ways. A lot of Souls-likes have both of those incorporated into them, and that's good, but what you engage with first is really important, and it kind of explains to me which ones I like more than others. Because the ones I seem to like more than others are the ones that give you interesting systems that you can play around with really early. In the game. But anyway, that's just a theory. A game theory. And and if you have some thoughts on that, please let us know in the comments down below. And tell me if there is a certain kind of way that you like to play Souls-likes or not at all.
Or just roast Nathan for playing Elden Ring with mods to make it easy mode. That's fine too. We allow it.
The thing is, it was either going to be I find a way to play on easy mode, or I just stop playing.
Yeah.
Those were pretty much my options, but I wanted to see what the world was like, and I do not have any regrets. Let me just make that very clear, because I am happy that I got to see what the actual world was like, and the different areas, although now I'm probably going to stop playing so much because there are areas of the game where I'd like to get to, and I have no idea how to even get there.
Well, time to start watching videos.
Exactly. Now I got to watch videos. There's this big crack in the landscape between different places, and it's too far down for you to jump to. But I also can't find a route down into it. But I know that there's stuff there. I know there's enemies there. I can see the like landmarks and stuff in the crevasse. No idea how I get down to it. I don't know where to access it. I've looked high and low all across the side. I don't know. There's probably a tunnel somewhere.
You'll find it eventually, and you'll report back on how many times you died.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily when I die now, it doesn't really affect me very much, because I can just automatically pick up my runes. But hey, you know what? That's the way it is. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and roast me down below, but understand, I don't care. I don't care. Point is, I had more fun with the game, and I'm happy that I did that. So we have talked for a very long time about FromSoft games, and I think that means that we have to go.
Gotta go before the internet roasts us any more than they're about to.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Go for it. Anyway, Alex, if folks wanted to find us online, where could they go?
You could find more about us if you want to roast more of us over at TotalPebbleKnockdown.com.
That's right, you sure can. And when you go there, feel free to check out our Patreon, where we have some additional, fun goodies over there, stuff that doesn't necessarily make it onto air, full episodes before they launch on YouTube or anywhere else. You can also check us out on every podcast app known to mankind. Please rate and review and subscribe where applicable. And make sure to check us out on the ever-increasing wasteland that is social media. I am at Citanium.
I am at EXP Limited, and our show is at Pebble Knockdown.
Check us out over there if you want to keep up for all your pebbling needs. And feel free to check back with us next week, where we talk about other things that I probably did that I'll get roasted for, which is going to be a fun occurrence this year, I can already tell. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Great. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye forever.